Let me introduce myself. I'm an actor. This beard is for a character I'm playing in a play next month. And I have to do that sometimes, change my appearance. I'm sure you're all thinking, is the character a rabbi or a homeless hippie? I can't tell you that. You have to come see the play. But appearances matter. That's the point. We see something and we interpret it. Unless we can't. I have a raise your hand question. Has anyone ever been in an art museum where you see a painting that's just blue and wondered, how is that art? Just a show of hands? Great, lots of hands. Awesome. What do you do when you're in that situation? How do you handle not being able to interpret something that you see? Not being able to form a relationship with something you're interacting with? Well, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, in his last interview he gave before he died, said that we should try and find meaning in the absurdity. It's easier said than done. But okay, let's unpack this. Absurd can be defined as inconsistent with reason. I love this definition because I'm Jewish. And our narrative is inconsistent with reason. I mean, let's break it down. Sarah had a baby at 90. Joseph could see the future. Moses turned his stick into a snake. There's a talking donkey. And even if you look at today, outside of the Bible, we're still here. Despite everything that happened to us, we're still here. That is inconsistent with reason. And yet Rabbi Heschel says that we have to find meaning in that absurdity. It's a good thing we have a tool to do just that. We Jews call it Midrash. Taking a text and finding your own narrative, finding your own meaning, finding your own relationship with that text. I'm here tonight to talk about Israel education, so let's do that. Let's employ Midrash to talk about Israel. Or as you might know him, Jacob. The womb kicker, heel grabber, soup maker, birthright traitor, God wrestler, forefather Jacob. A lot has been said about Jacob's marital situation. He was married to Rachel, but first he was married to Rachel's sister Leah. There was Bilhah, there was Zilpah, and Jacob was a busy man, perhaps too busy. Right? I'm married. I know that a marital relationship is a challenge. Now imagine juggling 4 simultaneously. And sometimes it got hard. According to Rabbi Yochanan, really hard. Midrash, right? My favorite Midrash in all of Jewish literature is about Jacob. There was this one night when Rachel traded Jacob to Leah for some mandrakes. And according to Rabbi Yochanan, Jacob had some trouble in the tent. When it says in the Torah, Vayishkav ima balaylahu, that Jacob went and laid with Rachel on this night, according to Rabbi Yochanan, HaKadosh Baruch Hu siya be'oto ma'aseh. God gave Jacob a little help in the tent getting the job done. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, Jacob needed holy Viagra. Now, this was brilliant on the part of the rabbis. What are the rabbis doing with this midrash? Humanizing Jacob, making Jacob someone we can identify with. Not some forefather up there who was perfect at everything, but a human being who, like many human beings, has ED every now and then. Right? Humanizing Jacob so that we can have a relationship with the narrative. We can identify and internalize with that narrative. Now, casting directors do the same thing. I'm an actor. I see the breakdowns. When casting directors are casting for ED commercials, they're looking for that middle-aged, middleweight man that we can all identify with, that we can say, hey, that guy, I relate to that guy. That guy's just like me, just with ED. It's also something that we can aspire to be desired by an attractive actress. Now, what does this have to do with Israel education, really? I think it's time for a drama game. I need a volunteer. Can I have a volunteer, please? Just any volunteer. Miriam, great. Why don't you come on up? Thank you very much. Let's give Miriam a round of applause. Come stand over here. Thank you. So, I'm going to ask Miriam to do a few things. And after each thing I ask Miriam to do, I'm going to ask you what you saw. And I really do want you to share. I'll call on people with a raise of hands. Miriam, if you could do your first action, please. Great. What did you see? Somebody, tell me what you saw.
She walked quietly across.
You saw her walking quietly across the space. Anybody else see something else? Yes? Focus. Great. What did you see?
She had a bit of a smile.
She had a bit of a smile. She was smiling, focused, quietly walking. That was fantastic. Miriam, could you do the second action, please? What did you see? Anybody? Yeah.
She got scared by something.
She got scared by something. Can somebody be more specific?
She was fleeing.
She was fleeing what?
Someone.
Anybody else? A dog. Great. Wonderful. Miriam, could you do the third action, please? Okay, what did you see? Yes? She forgot something. She went back. She was late or forgot the time. Fantastic. Awesome. We're just going to do one more action, Miriam. Okay, what did you see? Anybody, what did you see? Yeah. She got scared of?
Something in the air.
Something in the air. Be more specific?
Big bird.
A big bird. Great. Awesome. First off, let's give Miriam a round of applause. Thank you, Miriam. That was great. So, what we actually saw was Miriam walk across the space. Walk, stop, look behind her and run. Walk, stop, look at her wrist and go back the way she came. And then walk, stop, look up, scream, and run off the stage. But what you also saw was that a very quiet, focused, smiling woman was walking along until she got scared by a dog behind her, at which point she realized that she forgot something at home, so she started walking back until a bird pooped on her head. So the fact is that you were able to tell that story with your imagination. You were able to take something that you saw and interpret it and make it your own story. That's Midrash. You did a brilliant job of it. That was fantastic. That's what I want to talk about with Israel education. I got an email in 2009 from B'nai Akiva in Toronto. B'nai Akiva is a Zionist Jewish youth movement, and they invited me to come be an artist in residence for the weekend, to do a Shabbaton, to do some performing, and to teach some workshops. And in their email, they specifically asked me to teach an Israel workshop. So I wrote them an email back saying, thank you so much, I would love to do this. I'm very excited about it, everything sounds great, but I don't think I should do the Israel workshop because there's nothing I can teach these teenagers about Israel. They know more facts than I do. They've certainly been to Israel more than I have. Their Hebrew is certainly better than mine. There's nothing I can teach them. So I went to sleep before sending the email. I just drafted it. And the next morning I woke up and I realized that I was right. I don't have the facts to give them more facts, but I'm an actor. My job is to do what we just did, to take stories and make them my own. That I can do for this group. And here's what it looked like. I had everyone make a list of all the people that you meet on the streets of Tel Aviv. They made a very long list, and I asked each kid to select one identity from that list. And then I said, what's a word that comes to your mind in the voice of that identity when you hear Israel? And then I asked them to make a gesture as that identity. And then I asked them to walk through the street and interact with each other. How would your identity interact with that identity? Like a cocktail party, but on the streets of Tel Aviv. Then I split them up to write a paragraph in the first person of the identity's voice, answering the question, what does Israel mean to you? And then we put it all together. I had them walking through the streets. They were doing their gestures. They were saying their paragraphs. And then we sat down and we talked about it. And one of the girls said, I felt like I was just in Israel for the last hour. And another student said that he felt like he had learned more about Israel in the last hour than he had in the last year, which was miraculous because I hadn't taught them a single new thing. All I did was give them access to their empathies, access to taking something and interpreting it and making it their own story. We do a great job of filling our students with facts about Israel, about Herzl, about Ben Gurion, about how to play Matkot. We can fill our students in here, but we also have to fill our students in here. Because when you add empathy to knowledge, you get relationship. And the goal of Israel education has to be establishing that relationship. That's what I do every day as an actor. I'm given a character to play, and the first thing I do is go over the given circumstances. How old is the character? What is the character's financial situation? Is the character in love? Does the character come from a big family? Where is the character from? These are the facts. And then I go for the deeper stuff. How is this character's narrative like my narrative? How is this character's story like my story? And I make it my own. And by the way, this might sound very Jewish, but Jews aren't the only people who do this. We have a primal need as human beings to take something we see and interpret it to make it our own and tell our own story with it. To, as Heschel says, find meaning in the absurd. And it's what the rabbis were doing with Jacob, right? There's lightning in the sky. It must be Zeus throwing down lightning bolts, or it's thundering outside. God must be bowling. Right? It's not even an ancient thing either. Think about Americans, right? We have the Grand Canyon. How did that come about? Well, we know Paul Bunyan was walking with his axe on his shoulder and he got tired. So he dropped his axe and dragged it behind him. And now we have the Grand Canyon. Well, we can identify with that. We can relate to that story because we've all felt fatigue. So now we have a relationship to the Grand Canyon because it's a symbol of a human feeling that we all feel. And that's what I'm asking us to do with Israel education. To get kids up in the classroom dragging the axe behind them. Maybe that looks like having a debate in Knesset, a political debate. Maybe it looks like studying the marketplace and setting up their own shuk where they negotiate with each other in shekels. But whatever it is, Israel education should be a full body experience. When I was in high school, my biology teacher, Coach Paul Meeks, had a sign on the wall that said, "Tell me, I'll forget. Show me, I'll remember. Involve me, I'll understand." I want to add a line to the end of that sign. Give me the opportunity to form a relationship with the content, and I will care about the facts and the stories and the failures and the tragedies and the triumphs and the current events about that content. That doesn't fit on the sign. To make a shorter version for the sign, tell me, I'll forget. Show me, I'll remember. Involve me, I'll understand. Relationship me, and maybe I won't need Viagra. Thank you.
Thanks for watching Eli Talks. Click through or subscribe to the Eli Talks channel for more inspired Jewish ideas.